The changes to the Resource Management Act are undermining already agreed Treaty of Waitangi settlements. In those settlements, there are provisions that enable local Māori tribes to be able to have control over resources, over management, over food gathering, and the right of them to be consulted in that. That is hugely problematic.
Rights for Māori to have a say over their coastal areas, for example, it seeks to do exactly that thing. Protecting our living systems, for example, from offshore mining. We're seeing that right now. Mm-hmm. And it is Te Tiriti, it is that agreement which offers that protection to the majority of the people who have sent a clear message to this country. Please protect the rights of our Indigenous people, Dinia's rights.
One of the great success stories of New Zealand over the last 30 years has been the reconciliation, if I can put it like that, between tangata whenua, the original Indigenous people of New Zealand, Māori, and the Crown, and the apologies for past wrongs and redress given in relation to breaches of the treaty, particularly land confiscations in the 1850s and 60s and so on. Those agreements, called treaty settlements, are at the core of the coalition agreements that make up this government, and honouring those agreements is firstly a legal requirement on the government, and secondly is a core part of what we are about as a government. Within that context, I don't accept the proposition that we can't use mining in New Zealand to help grow the economy. As I'm sure Shane will tell you, and he's the Minister of Resources, we are blessed with abundant natural resources in New Zealand, including coal and gold and silver and a range of other minerals that is increasingly in hot demand. And 20 minutes ago, we had a discussion around New Zealanders leaving to go overseas. Well, guess where many young Kiwis go? They move to Australia, and guess where they work? They work in the mines of Western Australia and Queensland. And, you know, if we want to grow the economy, mining is a part of that. I don't think we should be crazy about it. I think there should be environmental conditions. There are some things we shouldn't mine, and there are some areas we should never touch because they're too beautiful and too part of our national park system, for example. But there are lots of areas in New Zealand where we can and should mine responsibly, and that is about growing the economy and providing those opportunities that we've spent the last 25, 30 minutes talking about.
Your listeners have been served up some predictable tropes. That somehow New Zealanders have to be condemned to a Garden of Eden existence, and every time we touch the earth, it's going to leave some permanent, irredeemable disfigurement. That level of naivety and juvenile thinking is why our people are leaving, because we are not generating the economic surplus on a regular basis. Over 38% of our landscape is tied up in conservation estate and related land reserve status. On the question of Māori, so obviously I come from a long background in settling the Treaty of Waitangi claims. In 1986, I was the translator for my own tribe on one of the most historic Treaty of Waitangi claims during the period of our structural adjustment from 1984 to 1990. We also privatized access to our fisheries rights, and that led to some very large and memorable claims from the tribes. And I went on to be the chairman of the organization that held those rights and large amounts of capital. So I think it's easy to fall into the trap that somehow we're going backwards on these issues. Each generation is defining what is an appropriate role for the Treaty of Waitangi. It went through a long period of time of being neglected, and now the Treaty of Waitangi has enjoyed a great deal of contestability, not to wipe it out of existence, but to ensure that the role that it plays is consistent with the tenets of a participatory liberal democracy. We shouldn't fear that. It's when you suppress and cancel those debates, then you do create divisiveness. So no, I'm very confident about our future as a 5 million odd people. I think that the Māori presence year by year is actually growing and expanding.